Hi guys, back. So it's been about 20 minutes. The soup has been boiling away. Once it comes to a boil, I've just turned it down onto a low heat, left the lid on, let it simmer. So what you will end up with, I'll try and show you very quickly if I can, is you've got a potatoey leaky broth. You'll know when the potatoes are pretty much cooked. You can either just pop a little knife into them very carefully, watch them for steam. Or the colour of the potato will start breaking down, the starches will start coming out of the potato. At that point, I normally have a little taste of it once it's cooled enough for you to taste, just to start checking your seasoning levels. Personally, I wouldn't season it until I've blitzed it, because depending on the thickness, I have just got a little bit of, I've got chicken stock, but you just have vegetable stock, your vegan stock, depending on what you're wishing to use. So next stage is, I'll try and do it without knocking the camera over. We are just literally going to use the Billy blender, hopefully, and puree the soup up. Again, you can do this in a food processor. You can do this with a food hand blender like I'm using. If you wanted to leave it like that, you could just have it as a nice little broth. You know, if I was going to leave it that without pureeing it, I'd probably cut my leeks a little bit smaller, and I'd maybe not use all of the leek. I'd maybe use the white and the lightish green part of the leek, because the tougher part of the leeks will be a lot harder to chew unless you cut them really small. So what we're going to do is literally blend up. So it's going to get a little bit noisy for a few minutes. Like I say, this here now, I've got about 1.5 pints of stock in there. 1 leek, 1 onion, 1 potato. I've used 1.5 chicken stocks, but again, if you want to keep them vegan, use a vegetable stock. You can buy vegan stocks if you have them in your cupboard. At the moment, there's no butter, there's no cream in here, so your allergens, there's no gluten in there, there's no nuts in there, there's no dairy products in there. The only allergens that you could come across are if you have onion allergies, because you're using onions and leeks, which are part of the same family. Potato allergies, some people can be allergic to natural potato starch, but again, it's relatively allergy free if you can eat onions and if you can eat leeks or anything from that family or from the tubular family, like potatoes. But again, there's no added flours in there, there's no added dairy, there's no added nuts. So we're just going to blitz up. So that's now pureed. I'll just grab a quick ladle. So you'll be able to see, hopefully. I'm just going to move my blender up, put that into my little bit of stock. I personally think it's going to need a little bit of letting down, because you can probably see it's quite thick. If I just move the camera around slightly, it's got a thick consistency, and personally I'd probably, depths of winter, that'd be lovely. Nice hot bread roll, freshly baked bread, which we will come on to in the next few days. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a little bit more of my stock in and just stir that round. You can use your blender, and that will just help. You should just be able to see now it's a lot slightly smoother consistency, and that's just helped. And at the moment, that's pretty much your leek and potato soup done. We started 11:15. The time is now just coming up to midday. And hear Richie Anderson on the radio, given the traffic, and Jeremy Vine, I'm sure, will be on shortly. So what I'm going to do is have a little taste. At this point as well, if you have a little bit of fresh nutmeg or just dried nutmeg, you can add a little pinch in. It'll help just bring the leeks to life. I haven't got any nutmeg in stock, but again, it's not a game changer. It's not gonna, it will add some more flavour into the soup. It'll give it a little bit of spicing into the soup, but again, not necessary. At this point as well, if you wanted to put some butter through your soup, feel free. If you wanted to add double cream, some creme fraiche, If you're observing Slimming World, you could, without reboiling it now, if you were serving this straight away, I'd fold some quark through there. So again, keeps it fat free. At the moment in time, if you'd used a vegan or vegetable stock, this would be completely suitable for vegetarians, people with dairy allergies, or vegans if you've used a vegan stock or good vegetable stock. I've used chicken, so obviously I can't serve this for my vegetarians or any vegans, but people I'm serving are not, so I know that's okay and I'll get away with that. At this point, I'd have a taste. Have a taste of the soup. Again, we don't want to double dip, so ultimately use fresh spoons. For me, I think I need a little bit of pepper. I'm going to use cracked black pepper because that's what I've got in stock. You can use ground white pepper. For the restaurant, we'd normally use ground white pepper so you just don't get the black flecks going through the soup. But as I'm not going to be serving any food critics other than my wife and my dad, we'll just use a bit of cracked black pepper. And then salt. I'm just using table salt. You can use, if you've got sea salt, you can use sea salt. Again, at this point, I haven't got any. I personally, with a lot of my soups, I add a little bit of citric acid, so a little bit of lemon juice. And that would just be, lemon juice and citric acid just really brings it to life and helps a lot of flavours. If you read a lot of the ingredients on things, citric acid is used heavily. So again, I've got a fresh spoon, so I'm not double dipping. Pop my soup in the sink, and we'll have to do the dishes in a minute. I personally think it just needs a pinch more salt, a pinch more pepper. And that's pretty much done. So you have a nice hot steaming soup. Again, probably cost about £1 to make, if that. I've easily got probably 6 good bowls, depending on the size of your bowls. Like I say, I'm on Slimming World for a reason, because I like big portions. And like I say, you know, I've easily got a good couple of portions there. You can keep it in your fridge overnight. You can keep this for 3-4 days in your fridge. You know, recommended we say 3 days. To be honest, there's nothing in there that's really going to spoil. There's no dairy in there. There's no creams or butters. You can add to this what you like now. If you wanted, you could dice up some leek and sweat that off. Where we mean sweating, just in a pan, a little bit of butter, just to soften the leek, and add that. If you add some ham hock, say you've done a gammon on the weekend, you wanted to flex some ham through there. Really versatile. Chicken as well. You can have a nice chicken leek and potato soup. I've got some chives coming up in my garden, so I can chop some chives through there. You could add some spinach to this if you wanted. So this is a basic puree of soup. And, you know, we would call it a cream soup then once we add the cream, but you are pureeing the soup down. So again, it's really simple to do, really easy to do. And hopefully, you know, people will find these helpful. If they don't, feel free to unfriend me, feel free to mute me. I won't be offended. I'm doing this more so I can send over to my students so they can learn, get some learning while they're off for the next few weeks. And more, A, so I've got lovely healthy food to eat. B, I'm using up the food I've got in my larder and my fridge now. And C, you know, like I say, it gives me something to do and something to put on social media. And like I say, you know, if you've got some questions, feel free to ask me. I've got a lot of experience. I've worked in many hotels and served thousands upon thousands of people over my time. And like I say, importantly though, we'll be working hygienically, so we'll ensure our hands are all washed, our kitchen is cleaned down before each video and before any cooking really. We're just going to follow basic common sense and keep hand washing, and obviously follow government guidance while I'm still fit and healthy. And we'll put things out there, and like I say, I will shamelessly plug Richkins Woodcraft, but I will also be bigging up some of the other people that are doing some great jobs out there at Green and Jenks. They're a little deli down in Wellfield Road. They've turned their shop and deli into a little corner shop where they've got essentials in if you need to go down and grab some bits. At the pantry number 34. They're all on Insta. They'll all be tagged into the posts. You know, if you want to send a lovely freshly baked cookie that gets posted through the door, so no human contact for delivery, that could be lovely sent as a gift for somebody's in isolating and maybe feeling a bit low and a bit down. who's not going to love a freshly baked cookie? And trust me, they are stunning and really good. Becky and Keith are both talented chefs, and again, you know, they're working from home and doing great jobs. We are going to pick up some more businesses, and we'll be tagging them in, as we really need to support the local businesses and try and get everyone through this as best we can. So anyway, enough rambling from me. I'm going to go eat my soup, and I'll speak to you shortly. Bye.